I didn't walk into marriage expecting every night to be fireworks. I knew real life wasn't a movie. Work piles up, bills never stop, and stress creeps into everything. But no one prepares you for what it feels like when love turns into a cold silence. My name is Daniel. I'm 38 years old, and for 12 years, I've been married to a woman I thought I knew inside and out. Her name is Claire. She was the kind of woman who made heads turn when she entered a room. Charming, social, the one always cracking jokes at dinner parties. I wasn't the life of the party, but I had stability. I had a decent job in IT, kept things steady, paid the bills, and tried to give her the life she wanted. For years, it felt like we were a team. The beginning was beautiful. Late-night talks, holding hands in the car, planning trips we couldn't even afford but still dreamed about. She'd call me at work just to say she missed me. Even the way she looked at me back then. It made me feel like the only man in the world. That spark carried us for years. But then, sometime after the 7th year, things began to shift. Slowly, subtly at first. She laughed less at my jokes, not because they were bad, but because she wasn't really listening. She'd come home from work exhausted, scroll on her phone, and I'd feel invisible sitting next to her. I brushed it off. Everyone gets tired. Everyone goes through phases. I kept telling myself it was temporary. I started cooking more, taking care of little chores, setting up small date nights, hoping the effort would pull her back in. But the closeness I craved didn't return. Our hugs became brief. Our kisses turned into forehead taps. And the bedroom, the place that once kept us connected, turned into a desert. One night, I finally spoke up. "I miss us," I said gently. Claire gave me a half-hearted smile, her eyes already drifting back to her phone. "I'm just not in the mood lately." "It's not you." But that lately stretched into months. And months stretched into years. Do you know what it feels like to reach out to the person you love, only to be treated like a burden? To feel like your own presence annoys them? That's what it became for me. Every compliment brushed off, every touch pushed away, every attempt shut down. Then last Thursday night, everything shattered. Claire sat on the couch, legs tucked in, watching her crime drama, like I wasn't even there. I walked over, sat down carefully and asked, "Claire, can we talk after the episode?" She sighed loudly, muted the TV, and turned to me with irritation etched all over her face. "What is it now, Daniel?" she snapped. I swallowed hard and said, "I just miss feeling close to you. I miss being us." Her eyes locked onto mine, cold and unflinching. "I don't want intimacy anymore," she said flatly. "Not with you." The words hit me like a hammer to the chest. Her words lingered in the room, heavy and unforgiving. I didn't respond right away. My mouth went dry, my chest tightened. For a moment, I just stared at her, searching for any hint of softness, any trace of the woman I had fallen in love with. But there was nothing. Only the same cold indifference I had been feeling for years, now laid bare in the cruelest possible way. I felt the weight of all those nights I tried, all those small gestures, all the love I poured into this marriage, collapse around me. I didn't yell. I didn't slam anything. I didn't storm out in a dramatic show of anger. I simply stood up. Slowly, deliberately, I walked to the bedroom. I grabbed my gym bag, threw in a few essentials, clothes, phone, charger, wallet. Everything I needed to disappear for a few hours, just to breathe. I turned back once to glance at Claire, and she was already scrolling on her phone. Like the words she had spoken had been nothing more than a passing thought. As I closed the bedroom door behind me, the house felt strangely silent. Every step I took echoed in the empty hallways of a home that no longer felt like mine. I drove aimlessly for a while, letting the night swallow me, my mind running in circles. Anger, hurt, disbelief, and resignation collided in a confusing mix I couldn't sort through. I found myself at a small diner on the edge of town, parked in a corner booth with my hands wrapped around a lukewarm cup of coffee. That's when my phone rang. It was Claire's friend, Amanda. She sounded casual, cheerful even, but there was a sharpness in her voice that made my stomach twist. "Hey Daniel," she said. "Everything okay?" I kept my tone measured, calm. "Yeah, I'm fine. Just needed some air." There was a pause on the other end. Then slowly, Amanda asked the question that made my blood run cold. "So she told you everything?" I frowned, my fingers tightening around the phone. What are you talking about? Amanda sighed, like she was debating whether to continue. She doesn't want to be with you. Not in any way. And honestly, she's been talking to someone else. I thought you should know. The world seemed to tilt. I didn't shout. I didn't curse. I didn't even speak for several seconds. It wasn't the first time I had suspected something. There had always been late nights at work, mysterious messages, and small changes, but hearing it confirmed, from someone I trusted, cut sharper than any physical blow. For a long moment, I just sat there silent. And then, a strange clarity began to settle over me. I realized that staying, hoping for a miracle, for love to suddenly return, had been a mistake. My respect, my dignity, my life, they were being quietly erased while I clung to a ghost of what we used to be. That's when I made the decision. I drove straight home, but not to stay. I needed to see the house, the place where so many years had passed, but now only felt like a prison. I parked a few blocks away, just enough to watch. Claire was sitting in the living room, scrolling on her phone, unaware that I had returned. Her laughter rang out suddenly, light and carefree, the sound twisting in my chest. It was the laughter of someone who didn't care about the person who had stood by her for 12 years. I didn't knock. I didn't announce myself. I simply walked to the front door, unlocked it silently, and stood in the hallway for a moment. Every picture on the walls, every trinket, every memory of shared birthdays and late-night talks felt like a knife twisting. But instead of breaking me, it fueled me. I was done hoping for love from someone who had long stopped caring. Claire's friend Amanda was still there, perched awkwardly on the edge of the couch, sipping a glass of wine. She looked up when she saw me, hesitation flashing across her face. "Daniel," she started, but I cut her off with a single look. No words were needed. I walked past them both, and went straight to the bedroom. I didn't say a word to Claire, and she didn't even glance up. I grabbed my coat, my wallet and keys. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I left. Not a dramatic slam, not a shouted farewell. Just a quiet, deliberate exit. The ride out of town felt almost surreal. I didn't think about her, about the betrayal, or the life that had unraveled. I only thought about myself for the first time in a long while. About reclaiming the respect I had lost. About protecting the dignity that had been quietly stripped away night after night, month after month, year after year. By the time I returned hours later, the silence of the house had changed. Claire and Amanda were gone. I had left no note. I hadn't screamed. I hadn't cursed. All that remained was a quiet assertion that some things, self-respect, personal boundaries, and emotional health, cannot be bargained for. They cannot be ignored, dismissed, or delayed. A week passed. I didn't answer calls, didn't return texts. Amanda reached out once more, apologetic, trying to smooth over the chaos. I didn't respond. It was time for me to exist outside the suffocating bubble of betrayal, to rebuild the life I had let dissolve into silence. The final confirmation came unexpectedly. A mutual friend mentioned seeing Claire at a local cafe with someone new. I didn't feel rage, nor did I feel jealousy. I felt relief, a strange, liberating relief. The woman I had loved, who had refused me for so long, was no longer a chain around my heart. And in that quiet liberation, I realized something important. Love, respect, and intimacy are not things you beg for. They are not owed by default. They are gifts shared between equals. When one side refuses, there is no shame in walking away. No humiliation, no guilt, only clarity. That night, I sat alone on my porch, watching the stars. The silence was no longer painful. It was peaceful. I had left behind the rejection, the betrayal, and the constant reminders of a love that had vanished. For the first time in years, I felt free. Truly free,